Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Jennifer Vanos. I'm an associate professor in the School of Sustainability at ASU. And today I'm excited to just cover in a few minutes a little bit about my background, my research that I do in the School of Sustainability and the Global Futures Laboratory, some of the grand challenges that we're dealing with in our research, as well as connections to sustainability. So with that, I'm going to share a few slides with you. So like I said, I'm an associate professor in the School of Sustainability. I've been here for about 6 years. I run the Human Biometeorology Laboratory in the Walton Center for Planetary Health. And my educational background stems from environmental sciences at the University of Guelph in my undergrad, a PhD in atmospheric sciences, also from the University of Guelph, that's in Canada, and then a postdoc at Health Canada that was on epidemiology, looking at weather and air pollution effects on human health. And so the research focus in my lab looks at human biometeorology and bioclimatology, where we ask the question around how can we strengthen society's ability to manage, mitigate, and or adapt to extreme heat and air pollution as the climate is changing. So we use a lot of different tools and technologies in terms of field and lab sensing tools. We use different STEM educational applications in our work. And everything we do, we try to make sure there's a connection to health. How do we understand how heat or air pollution exposures connect to the health of the population we're studying? We're also looking at adaptive technologies that I'll share with you. And we try and be as solutions focused as possible so that it's not just identifying a problem, but it's trying to say, okay, we know this problem exists. How bad is it for who? And what are some solutions that are specific to this population in this city? Because we know a lot of solutions are not going to be a one-size-fits-all approach. And with that, I kind of see myself as working at this intersection here between biometeorology, so that's studying kind of the impacts of weather and climate on people and their health, thermal physiology, so thinking inside the human body, what's happening when someone's exposed to a lot of heat. We also collaborate with a lot of thermal physiologists. Climate change itself, so understanding the climate system, what we're seeing today, the different climate regimes, how we got to where we are today from the last 30 or 60 years, and then where we're going in the next century to help us plan for that. And then public health, so working with public health agencies, trying to work on our communication and take our information and communicate it well to them, to their constituents, which is the public, and also make sure that what we're doing is helpful to them. And that means working with our stakeholders and public health agencies from the start of our projects. And so for some of this, how am I approaching this area of work? A lot of tools, as I mentioned, but we'll think about different scales that we look at. So regional to the census tract to understand potential socioeconomic effects connected to, let's say, heat or air pollution exposure at that level, neighborhoods, just a single person, and then the touch scale. So thinking about how hot it might be in playgrounds, for example. So a few images here, we can look at helicopter overflights of surface temperatures in a city. This one's from Phoenix, trying to understand heat mitigation potential of cool pavement. Also then looking at cool pavement, we can develop mobile observatories, you could call them. This one is on a bike. This is our Marty platform that is a high-end weather station that we can bring around cities. We set up weather stations at schools and different areas to understand intra-urban heat exposure. And then we have a thermal chamber where we can test people at any temperature and humidity combination, adding wind and sunlight, or we test Andy, our mannequin, which is a safer way to put people into conditions that are very extreme, but don't actually harm the individual. So this is Andy, and we're able to control Andy's sweat rate and blood flow and so forth to really understand what's happening to the human body in the heat. A big grand challenge is looking at the intersection of heat deaths and vulnerability in Maricopa County. These are counts from Maricopa County from their yearly report, and we see that the heat deaths in 2023 went up quite a bit, and in a 52% increase from the last year. And this is important to recognize and trying to understand it's not just the heat here that matters. It has a lot to do with the vulnerability. So who is vulnerable to heat, who's being exposed to heat, who is unable to adapt or cope with the heat. And one of the populations we study are those who are struggling indoors in a house that might not be properly cooled, in a mobile home, potentially in a trailer, and understanding then what were the conditions when someone died indoors, and was there air conditioning present. So of the 156 deaths, AC was present, but 88% had AC present, but 85% had not functioning air conditioning. This is really important to understand, and how can we support these populations in getting the cooling they need. Another issue that we look at is unhoused populations and understanding the intersection of heat and air pollution that are worsening that health, and then how can we also support housing initiatives, mental health initiatives to get people out of the heat, so decrease exposure to some of our most vulnerable populations. That connects to our work on interurban heat variability and increasing resilience at different locations. So we look at overall, how can we improve the heat readiness or heat resilience of cities, heat ready schools. So we work with a lot of schools in the Valley, and we're expanding to other states to work on heat resilience in schools, and then heat ready neighborhoods. So at the neighborhood level, are there resilience techniques that can be used to support community cohesion and preparedness efforts, and heat mitigation techniques that can be used in the face of extreme heat. And here we know that heat is a full summer thing. It's not just a heat wave now and then, but we get heat all summer long that can be very deadly for populations. And so a lot of this is acknowledging that and focusing on our efforts to ensure that what we do in Phoenix is very Phoenix specific. Phoenix or Tempe or Mesa, we work with all the communities in the Valley, and making sure that our efforts align with the needs of a specific neighborhood, which is going to look different than the neighborhood next to them. Same with schools. What do schools need? How can we support that? And how can we also evaluate to know if what we're doing is resulting in longer term resilience or sustainability to protect those populations. So that was just a little snippet of what I look at in my research as it relates to climate, sustainability, human health. Yeah, I've been doing this at School of Sustainability for a while, and I hope that some of you get excited about the importance of this work and can see yourself studying it in the future.